Hiya Monstaz and welcome. Now, are you ready for 5 creepy Let's Not Meet stories? Hope you are. So sit back and get comfortable. And if you want to check out these stories yourself, the links to the stories are in the description. So without further ado, let the stories begin. Naked Machete Man by GrimerThanYou. This happened about a year ago. 2013 to 2015, I worked night shift security at a RV resort. I was on my way to work one night when my front driver's side tire blew out on a long, narrow dirt road. It was around 10:30 p.m., so it was pretty dark. I live in a very secluded area in upstate Florida. This road was not near any neighborhoods, and I had only a few streetlights. My shift started at 11. I called my manager and told her that I might be a little late because I had to change the tire. After I got that squared away, I pulled out my car jack and started to position it underneath my Ranger. I was about to start cranking away when I saw the dim glow of some golf cart headlights approaching me from down the street in the direction that I had just came from. I was thinking that this was probably a local wondering what was going on and maybe they would be nice enough to give me a hand. The golf cart stopped behind my truck. I stood up from where I was crouching and said, "Hey there, one of my tires just blew out. You wouldn't mind giving me a hand, would you? I'm kind of running late for work." The person on the golf cart did not respond, and then I heard them getting out. The person came within the headlights of their golf cart. The lights were so dim it was kind of hard to see, but it looked like a middle-aged man with no shirt. So I could clearly see this guy's beer gut. He also had the hairy legs. I could see that something was dangling under his massive stomach. Turns out, he was completely naked. That's something that I could have lived my entire life without seeing. The man seemed to be holding something in his hand. I only got a quick look at the object. Okay, now so all dick jokes aside, the thing that this guy was holding looked like a machete. The man didn't say a word. As he started to slowly walk towards me, I quickly jumped back in my truck, started it up, and noped the fuck out of there. I didn't have time to grab my car jack, so I just left it. My truck was lopsided from the deflated tire, and it awkwardly excelled forward. I could see in my interior mirror that the headlights of this golf cart were close behind. Despite my truck having a flat tire, it was still going a decent speed, and so was that golf cart. It was tailing me. So in a split-second decision, I slammed the brakes of my Ranger, and then seconds later I heard and felt that golf cart smash into my rear end. I rolled down my window and shouted out, and sped off. I managed to get to work on time. Fucked up my rim a bit, but I explained everything to the manager and the cops were called. They searched the road but found no signs of the guy and his golf cart, but they did find my car jack, which was returned to me. Other than a few minor dents, the back of my truck didn't look bad at all. Now, I'm sure that golf cart had it 10 times worse. He had to be going full speed when he crashed into me. I'm surprised he was able to drive it away after all that. I've come to the conclusion that this weirdo was on some serious meth high, because that area had that kind of reputation. I no longer own that truck or work at that same site anymore. So, creepy, bare-ass, overweight, machete-wielding psychopath, for the love of God, put on some fucking pants, and let's never meet again. Mutilated Animals by wilderwilderwilder. This is a bit gory and hard to stomach, but nonetheless, it should be shared. About 2.5 years ago, at the start of the summer, I was walking along the back roads that connected the town I grew up in to the town I was currently living in. I didn't have a car at the time, and my ride fell through, but it wasn't a worry to me. I enjoyed looking at the birds and plants. At that time, I was just beginning to study wildlife tracks and native plants in the area, so I was keen to keep an eye on my surroundings. About 7 miles into my 11-mile journey, I started getting a funny feeling. I am very comfortable in the woods, even more so when I'm alone. I feel clear-headed, less distracted, and focused on my surroundings. So I took notice when I felt eyes on me. I slowed my pace and shortened my steps. I am more of a fighter than a flighter. I rounded the oncoming corner with care, only to find the bodies of 2 animals. One was skinned and looked rather large. I thought possibly a dog or a large feline, but I couldn't tell as his face and paws were torn off and mutilated. The other body was of a black cat. It was intact, but his eyes were gouged out. They were laying in a perfect yin-yang shape at the base of an evergreen. Immediately, I pulled my phone out to document the horror, and to my despair, the battery was almost depleted. I took the few photos I could and watched my phone shut down. The feeling of terror did not leave me. Nothing seemed safe. I was uncomfortable for the first time in the forest I grew up in. Up the path, just around the corner, was a mess of plastic and other bits of man-made material. I didn't have to look much further to find a mass grave of over 50 mutilated dead ducks. I also found a bag of what I believed were intestines. Needless to say, I hauled ass out of there. Once my phone was charged, I sent the photos to a friend who called the police. The cop said, "Yeah, that happens up there a lot. Has for years." Well, and that's it. Creepy Driver Following Us by punchingchicken. The only reason I'm posting this is because I don't know what to think of it. Last night my father and I were driving home, about to get on a road to turn onto another road that takes us to our house. Anyway, about only 2 miles from the exit. This isn't a busy road, by the way. This guy drives past us and turns the spotlight on his truck right on when he was about to pass us. And then we see brake lights, and then he turned around. Now, my dad wasn't sure if it was some undercover cop or he had a flat tire, but we both were creeped out. So we continue driving, and the guy is speeding far behind us, but close enough. So foolishly, my father turned on the signal light, and I told him not to because he would know which way we were going. So we turn fast, and we're speeding to get to the other road, and then right as we were about to turn, we see the headlights come up on the exit behind us. And they just sit there. And as his headlights faded away, we got less worried. Until we noticed the red brake lights that were turning onto our road. This creep turned off the headlights so he could follow us without being seen. Okay, we live in a small, busy area, so as soon as we pulled into our house, we sat and waited. We saw the truck drive by a few times. And then it stopped. A far-fetched or not, it's still the creepiest thing that's ever happened to me. So please respect this. Thank you. Man with the Wide, Wide Smile by Salam39. This is my first post. I hope it belongs here. Let me know if it doesn't, and I'll delete it. I had to do some shopping today. The store with the best prices is about a 30-minute walk from my house. so I took the bus there after work, did all my shopping, and then started the long walk home. It was about 6 p.m. when I left the store. The walk back home is right next to a busy street, but the sidewalk is unoccupied, so I've always considered it safe-ish since there might not be many people walking along with you, but there are plenty of cars driving by. Since it was a long walk home, I decided to listen to a podcast. It happened to be about a man who would stalk random women on the street, then rape and murder them. This set the tone for the events that would come soon after, and had me well all jumpy. Now, I was loaded with some heavy bags and struggling to carry them and walk at a normal pace, so when a man a few feet away asked me a question, I couldn't just pretend not to hear him and speed walk, jog away. Some quick context now. I'm transgender. I don't look particularly masculine in my opinion, but I'm a good 6 to 10 inches taller than most other women in my country. So I stand out. This is going to be relevant. Well, like I was saying, the guy asked me something and I couldn't run away. So I took off one earphone, walked a little slower, and asked him to repeat his question. He was smiling the whole while. He had a wide smile and white teeth. And when he spoke, his voice was very soft. It was sort of the voice you use with scared animals or children. Without letting his smile falter, the man asked, in his soft voice, "Are you a woman?" I just gave him a quick, shaky smile and said yes, and then rushed past the traffic light right before it turned green for the cars. I looked back and the guy had disappeared. So, breathing a sigh of relief, I started to turn into a side street that had a few more people. When I look left, I see that smile again. The guy walks up to me, closer, still smiling. I haven't seen him blink yet. He then says, "Seriously?" I try to be as friendly and nice as I possibly can and go, "Yes, I am." The guy follows with a low, "You're very pretty. Do you need someone to accompany you?" He's still smiling. He starts walking closer to me. I don't want to make him angry, so I quickly blurt out an apology and rush into the restaurant a few feet away. I tell the lady at the front counter in the restaurant that there's this guy following me, and she allows me to hide there for a few minutes. And I leave, and I don't see the guy around. So I take another corner, walk by a different street, and continue on my way. This whole time, a couple of women in my earbuds are still talking about a man who followed random women and sexually abused them. I felt like crying. Well, I kept walking home, but then I see a man leaning by a wall up ahead, smiling at passerbys. I recognize that wide, white grin. I don't think he sees me, so I run into another store and stay inside until my roommate comes and picks me up in her car and takes me home so I can promptly collapse in bed and have a minor panic attack. So, man with the fucking creepy smile, let's not meet again. Home Improvement Store Creep by NopedTheHeckOut. Just found this sub and reading the creepy encounters made me remember one of my own. It was about 10 years ago. My husband and I were remodeling our house, and as a result, we're spending way too much time in a large home improvement store where we live. The store is right off a main highway with an on and off ramp, right by the entrance to the store. Yes, that detail is important. We were spending yet another afternoon at the store, buying paints, brushes, blah blah, boring stuff. We had our then 3-year-old daughter with us. She was a cute kid and I was used to strangers commenting on how pretty she was. So when a random guy passed by and said she was cute, I politely smiled and said thanks. She was getting bored and tired of looking at paint, so I told my husband we were going to go for a walk, and off we went to browse around the store. 10 minutes into our random walk, we passed by my daughter's admirer from earlier, and he smiled as he passed. No big deal. I wasn't alarmed. We headed over to the kitchen display to drool over the awesomely out of our price range kitchen setups, and we saw him again. Weird. He wasn't really looking at anything, and he wasn't carrying any items. He was just walking. Seeing him 3 times in 10 minutes got me a little freaked out, and we left the kitchen department and continued to randomly walk. We passed by the toilets. My potty training daughter was fascinated by them. We see the man again. We were randomly walking, but what was the chances that he would be in the kitchens and near the toilets? This was getting weird. I decided to head back to my husband and fast. I grabbed my daughter's hand and we took off down a random aisle, looking for him. We made it down a few aisles without seeing the man or my husband, and I started to relax. I was still a young, overprotected mom, and I had gotten carried away. It happens. I spotted my husband. He was over at the tool department. This was at the opposite end of the store where I had last seen the guy. We joined up with him, sighed in boredom as he looked at his hammers and screwdrivers. What is it with men and tools? Just pick one already. My daughter was toddling around in the aisle near me, picking up tape measures and entertaining herself. I sighed again, loudly, to make my husband hurry the hell up. Then he looked around and there was that same damn guy from earlier, on the other side of the aisle. What the holy hell? Now, I was certain he was following us. I shot him a bitch stare, no longer worried about being nice, picked my daughter up and I hauled ass over to where my obvious husband was still debating over hammers. That guy keeps following us, I whispered to him, glaring over at the guy down the aisle. My husband barely looked up and said the guy was looking at tools, dismissing me like I was a crazy person. I wasn't buying it. I was getting the heebie-jeebies from this dude. I continued to carry my heavy-ass toddler around behind my husband, refusing to let her down. As I walked around, I kept that stalker dude in my sights as he shopped, but never actually picked up anything. Finally, my husband said he was done. We paid for our purchases and we headed out the store. As we got into the car, I saw the dude come out of the store and get into a white van. He peeled out of the parking lot and immediately took the entrance ramp to the highway. I may be paranoid, but I know this day that that guy was following my child. And I always get the chill when I think about what could have happened if I hadn't been vigilant and had let her wander out of my sight. So, creepy potential kidnapper, let's not ever meet again. Because I am no longer a polite, timid young mother, and I will bust your ass if you come around my child again. Wow, those were some creepy encounters, weren't they, monsters? I really hope you enjoyed the stories. Once again, you can find the links to these stories in the description. Big shout outs to those who wrote these stories, and big shout outs to you monsters out there. Also, monsters, be sure to leave some comments below. Also hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't done so. Thanks again, you guys. Till next time.